Here to help communities become safe and resilient. Our caption reads, Where Faith and Public Safety Connect. You're going to learn, and we're going to develop a group of teaching and sharing with you on how to prepare your community to be safe and resilient. But before we go any further, I want to just let it be known that our hearts and prayers go out to all the people that were hurt this last weekend in Austin, Texas, where we believe a terrorist attack took place, where a man chose to go out and want to kill people in the evening. But thank God we had law enforcement there that responded quickly. It could have been far worse, but because law enforcement responded, the threat was neutralized, which means the man was killed that was trying to do it. And our law enforcement agency people put their lives on the line, and they in turn saved a lot of lives. Also, at the same time, we want to share that our prayers and hearts go out to all the military people that are right now involved with the things that are taking place in the Middle East, in the fact of the war that has broken out, or however you want to describe it, where our military is now going after all the terrorist groups that have been a thorn in the American side and the world side for years in Iran. And our prayers go out to them, and we believe for that their mission will be completed quickly, and that all the American soldiers and women and men will come back home safely, and peace will be restored. Now, let's get to our topic. How do we build safe and resilient communities? How do we begin to build the platform for safe and resilient communities? We need to first look at the consistency that takes place in every city. I mean, what I mean by consistency is who are the key players in every community, in every city, no matter how large or how small they are. I've learned over the years that many communities only go with one group. They might just go with the civic part of the city, and they might say that's the key. Or they might go and say law enforcement, that's the key. Or they might say, well, the faith community is the key for building safe and resilient communities. Well, the truth is that's right, but it's all three working together. Every community that I know of usually has houses of faith, some form of law enforcement, and some form of civic authority. What I mean by mayors or county commissioners, there's some civic authority that watches over and maintains all the laws that are taking place. Not the laws, but they establish all the principles and laws for every community. So those three groups, which consist of the faith community, the law enforcement community, as well as the civic and the political leaders, our mayors and our county judges, they all are important in building safe and resilient communities. Now, what we've learned over the years is that if we're not careful, we can build information silos. What do I mean by that? Where we only talk to those that we know. But that is not good when it comes to building safe and resilient communities. It's good to communicate with all your faith-based partners, and law enforcement, it's good for you to communicate with all your law enforcement partners, and all your political leaders, it's good for you to communicate with all your other political leaders. But if you don't connect together and begin to work together as one, you are not going to be able to build a safe and resilient community. And what I mean by that is you're not going to be able to respond to really bad things that might happen in your community as effectively as you should. Now, I was involved in several major disasters. What I mean by that is hurricanes, Katrina, Rita, Gustav Icas many years ago. But I found that when a community has already built relationships with each other, the faith community, law enforcement, and maybe the mayor's office or emergency management, the community can respond immediately to major disasters and respond so that the people in the community are safe, and as well as helping other communities that need help. One of the fundamental truths is this: trying to develop trust and relationship in a disaster often develops into another disaster, because you're trying to develop trust and relationships in the midst of a disaster and you don't know each other. So here's the number one point that we want to share with you today. Build trust amongst all three groups. Build trust between the faith community, the law enforcement community, and the civic community. Look to those ways in which you can build trust so that you can respond to any event that will come into your community. Now, we know that a lot of disruption, a lot of things have been happening in our nations where communities are fracturing. And one of the reasons why they're fracturing is because those three groups don't have relationships. And then when you have outside groups that are paid for, that have a lot of funding, that are organized, and they begin to attack a community or attack a certain portion of the community becomes fractional, and it's not good. It's not healthy. So, how do we begin to build relationships between the faith community, the civic leadership, and law enforcement? Now, this might be very basic, but one of the ways you begin to build safe and resilient communities and building trust is be honest with each other. Tell the truth. Speak truth one to another. Let every party know where you stand and what you believe in. Because unless you do that, how can you build trust? Trust is something that is earned. You have to speak truth. You have to be honest. You have to say the things that need to be said. But at the same time, if you are in a leadership position, you need to keep your word. And what I mean by that, I've been involved in government and government leadership for many years, almost 25 years now. And one of the tendencies that I found with government leaders is they have a tendency of giving the word that they're going to do something, then they never do it. Well, when you do that, I'm not saying all government leaders do that, but a lot of them do. The trust with the faith community begins to erode. Could you imagine a pastor telling his congregation that he was going to do something, then he didn't do it? What would happen? His congregation wouldn't trust him anymore, and his congregation wouldn't follow him anymore. The same is true if you are a civic leader or even a law enforcement leader in your community. Keep your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Begin to build trust. Now, in the area of law enforcement, this is difficult. And what do I mean by that? There are a lot of natural circumstances that contribute to a lack of trust. One of them is this: most police chiefs don't stay around very long. They stay around for a couple of years till retirement, then they leave. So you have a constant turnover of police chiefs, a constant turnover of leadership. And when the faith community begins to trust in somebody in the law enforcement agency, they're gone. The same also happens when it comes to political leaders. Oftentimes, you will have political leaders that stick around for a few years, maybe even 8 years. And you think, well, that's a long time. But again, they leave. And then you're right back to where you were before, having to build trust with your civic leaders. Now, I've shared this with many government leaders and as well as police chiefs. The one group of people that I see that stay longer in a community consistently, not everybody, but consistently, are the faith-based leaders. Some of those men and women that are faith leaders of your community and the houses of faith have been there for many, many years. Many pastors and leaders of faith communities, some of them have been there 20, 30 years. And then the establishment of their houses of faith, I know one particular synagogue in our community has been there for over 100 years. Why is that important? When you begin to look at the faith community as a consistent point of contact where you can develop relationship, then you as civic leaders, as well as law enforcement leaders, need to continue to develop a structure of relationship with all three groups. But before you can build a structure, you have to trust each other. You have to keep your word. And at the same time, you need to speak the truth. Now, why do I say that? We have developed a generation where information is given out all the time. 24 hours a day on the internet, information is given. And honestly, A lot of it, there's no truth in it. So people have a tendency of turning off the channel and not listening because they don't believe you. It used to be years ago, if a person said something, you could believe them. Well, honestly, I'm saying that again, we've seen that decline. Let's change that dynamic. Let law enforcement, as well as our civic leaders, keep their word and tell the truth. I know sometimes that's difficult, but it's better not to say anything than to tell a lie or don't follow up on your word. Now, I had been involved with law enforcement agency groups and law enforcement leaders for almost 25 years. And I'm not picking on you, police chiefs, but I'll say this to you. In the 25 years that I've been involved with police chiefs and leadership, I've had many, many police chiefs say, Pastor Lance or Reverend McCune, I'm going to get back with you. I'll call you. I'll let you know. Or at the same time, I want to talk with you and I will call you. In my experience of 25 years, I've only had one police chief call. Now, what does that have to say to ministers when you do that? It shows you that they're just saying something, but they're not doing. You in law enforcement have to be trusted that when you say something, you do it, even if it's the little things. That is how you build trust. So if you give your word out to a faith-based leader, follow up on it, follow up on what you said you're going to do, even if it's a minor thing like, I will get back to you. Because that is how we build trust. We build trust by backing up what we said we will do. But also, faith-based leaders have to do the same. And faith-based leaders say, hey, I'm going to be with you there, Mayor, or I'm going to be with you, Chief. I'm going to support you. And then they go out and begin to do something thinking that they have you as well as your community supporting them. And they found out the opposite. Trust is broken. Trust is the key factor to building safe and resilient communities. Because when you have trust one in another, then when big things happen, you don't have to worry about, are they going to be there? Are they going to do what they said they're going to do? I found over the years that as we build trust in our community within these three groups, our community gets stronger and stronger, and our communities become safe and resilient. And if you look at the opposite, communities that are being destroyed, communities that are in decline, communities that are not doing very well, you will find there's a baseline, a lack of trust in all three groups. That has to change. If you truly want to build a community that's safe and resilient for your for all those that go to your houses of faith, for all those that are living in your community, for all those that are part of your community, build trust first. Now, I'm kind of sensitive to this because I've dealt with even national law enforcement agencies that I thought I could trust. I remember years ago, I was involved with the Obama administration Department of Homeland Security as an advisor on the Homeland Security Advisory Board. And we had something take place that was called Benghazi, where there was a State Department building that was attacked. And we were the faith-based leaders giving advice to Department of Homeland Security, and they were giving us information that we could relay back to those that we were connected to. Some of these organizations that I was with and working with had national followings of hundreds of thousands of people. So we go into this meeting, and a young woman representing the FBI came in and sat down with us and began to describe to us what was happening in Benghazi and began to tell a story that this was all done because of somebody making a video or a movie. It was a complete lie. It was a distortion of the truth. And unfortunately, I know the leadership of the FBI knew it was, and I know the people that I was with knew it was, but they continued to push out a lie so that they could try to change the political narrative. And I remember walking out of that meeting, and this was many years ago, and looking at one of my men that I was working with, and I'm saying, I don't think the FBI understands it. As they begin to show disinformation, give it disinformation to us, and then want us to carry that to our people, our trust level has now been broken. And from that day on, I saw a decline consistently in the trust of the FBI. Now you say, well, why is that shocking to you? Well, I grew up in a generation where we used to watch television shows about the FBI and we trusted them totally. But now we had deception coming from the leading law enforcement agency of the United States to faith leaders wanting us to distribute misinformation. The FBI hasn't been the same since. How will the FBI get back to the point where the houses of faith can trust them, or even local law enforcement? Begin to tell the truth. Don't distort it. Begin to share the truth. And if you can't share it, don't share it. Get out of politics, get back involved with law enforcement. Now, we're not trying to just get after the federal authorities, but if your leadership of law enforcement is not speaking the truth, it filters down all the way down to a local level where it feels like, well, the local level authorities can do the same. No. It's up to us to be the voice and the conscience of our communities. We have to speak out when we see things that are wrong, tell the truth, and correct them so that we can build safe and resilient communities. Now, that is the place of a minister. A minister is supposed to speak out when they see things that they don't believe it's right. Our job is not to be the police over the policemen or over our civic leaders, but it is our place to be a voice, like John the Baptist, a voice in the wilderness saying, no, let's not go that way. That's not the way we need to go. And you say, well, preacher, you just need to stick with the church. I do. And I also stick with the Bible. And we find in the book of Luke in chapter 3, where John the Baptist actually spoke to soldiers and told them to be ethical. They weren't part of his congregation. They were soldiers that were working at the time. See, we are the conscience of the community, faith-based leaders. It's our voice that carries weight, and it's our voice that helps strengthen those that want to do a good job. So don't go back into your silo and just share your information with your group. Begin to share truth to your whole community, especially those that are in leadership. Now, many people will criticize this. They'll say, well, no, that's not the church's place. It is, because it's our responsibility to speak truth when things are not right, but it's our responsibility to speak truth when things are right. So we began the program at the very beginning of the program just supporting law enforcement that dealt with the Austin shootings that took place earlier this weekend. We're speaking up to those that are doing a good job and saying, good job, we're behind you. But at the same time, if you're not doing a good job, we need to lift our voice up and say, nah, we need to be honest. Let's do the right thing. When we work together, all three groups, remember, the civic leadership, the houses of faith leadership, and law enforcement leadership, and we build trust and we're honest and tell the truth, and we develop that type of relationship, we will build safe and resilient communities. Before we can build any physical structure, we have to build that standard first. And from that point on, we can begin to do more physically structured things within our community so that we can live prosperous, free, and safe. So this is Reverend Lance McCune. Until next week, we're going to share more with you on where faith and public safety connect and how they connect and how they can work together. God bless you. Have a great day.